Hi, just starting a new project. When I did the blue tit, the person that had my blue tit asked me if I could do another bird to go alongside it. So, and they really wanted a robin. So, this is what I came up with. It's the background is essentially the same. I'm just going to change the colours slightly, but bring in the colours, some of the colours that I had in the background of the blue tit as well, so that they work as a pair. And the other thing that I'm going to do, I've already actually done, just show you the pattern. Here's the pattern ready to go, and this shining light, this piece that runs through here, I have cut out already, and I've used this fabric, which some of you may recognise as the same as what I had on the blue tit that I did a bit more stitch work on. So that I'm going to put on there just to tie the two in so that they work as a pair alongside each other. So first thing I'm going to do is, obviously I've printed it out, I'm just going to lay my parchment paper over. I've already drawn around the bit that we're going to work on today. Just before we do that, just want to, no, I'll do it. I think it's screen is right. So I'm going to do this bit in here, which is this piece here. Just going to change the colour so you can see that bit. Again, the things to think about is the way that the feathers would go. So if I just quickly show you, I'm going to take this away. I want you to think about looking at the picture itself, and there are some clues. So you've got the beak here. You can clearly see there's this sort of straight line that comes around here. So if I draw, so we've got this line that sort of curves around here, if that makes sense. And then as we go across here, it comes down and curves out a bit more here. So to make it feel as if your feathers are going the right way, and then by the time we get over here, these are curving round this way. So think about that when you're putting your fabrics on. You're going to come kind of straight down on this bit, starting to curve out on this bit, and by the time you get round here, you're going in that direction with your fabrics. I hope that makes sense. But it's just so that you get the lines of the bird, so that it kind of looks 3D. It looks as though it's rotund, so it's not flat. So that is a kind of important thing to think about. So even if you draw lines on, so you want to think about the fact that this is starting to come out here, this is coming out here, and then this is coming right out here. So they're starting fairly straight, just curving it round at the bottom, starting to curve right from the top there, very noticeably going out that way. Okay, so I'm going to do this bit. I've already drawn around on a piece of parchment paper and cut it out because that's a bit tedious for you to all see. And that fits somehow. There we go, fits on there like that. So when I put my first piece on, just get the picture back up so you can see what colour I want. Can you see that yet? So these are a slightly orangey red here. Think about the fact that this is getting much darker red here and up here, and a very orangey colour up here. So just get your fabrics organised. So for this bit, the colours I've gone for are very distinctly red. I don't have a lot of patterned fabric in red. Don't use red very often, so I haven't got a huge amount of it, but you can see that they kind of all work together, hopefully. And I would encourage you to really use your eyes and look to see what works together. I don't use values at all, really, hardly at all. The only time I would use values is when I've done the picture and there's something distinctly not right about it. I look at it and I think it's just not working, there's something not quite right. And then the way I would do it is I would take a picture of it and then I'd just change it into a black and white picture. And usually just by changing it into black and white picture, something will instantly stick out at you as not being right, that you can't actually see quite as well on a colour picture. Even taking a photograph of something, you spot all sorts of things that you don't spot when you're actually working on it. So I really encourage people to take lots of photographs of your work as you're going along, because it's amazing what it picks up that you haven't picked up when you're actually looking at it. I suppose you're just kind of ploughing on with it and you're paying attention, but you're not always aware when something's not right or hasn't gone right. So I really encourage you to use values if you want to use values, but you really use your eyes as well. You know, just be brave. Don't rely on one way of doing things. So this is the bit we're going to do. Unfortunately I've got all fairly new pieces. This was cut out a bit. But these are all fairly new pieces, so they're all fairly straight lines. And I think I've said before, I really like it when you've got like these sort of jaggedy edges to things. I think they make a huge difference when you put them on. It just brings things a little bit alive. So some of these bits I'm going to cut out at fairly odd sort of shapes. Not distinctly feathery shapes, but just with us, just a bit more lively. So we're back to peeling the little bits of paper off again. Just the best sport. Also, you've probably just noticed, I just trim round that again, because a lot of the time when you pull your backing paper off, you often get a bit of fraying. So just trim round again. So I'm actually going to really pay attention to what I was saying. I'm just going to give that a bit of a curve. So it is, what I need is the piece that I cut out. Look at where it goes again. Where does it go? That way around. Right. So I'm just going to take it across the top there, and then hopefully that's just going to stick it down a bit on there so I haven't got used bits of sellotape everywhere. Right, and then I'll put a bit over the top over here. Got to work out where my camera is. But it's slightly different angle this time. I'll just go over the top there. There we go. Start to stick down. I'm just going to get this out of the way because I can see myself hiding the corner of it. This is a bit bold for me. You can clearly see on here I've used up lots of little bits that I had. So it was a bit to peel off. I'm just going to stick that right over the top. You can go under that piece. Yep, that's fine. Now I'm going to really cheat a bit. This has got lines on it, so I'm going to use those lines to make sure that I'm giving the impression that we are turning a little bit. Lines are a little bit difficult to use in fabric collage, but there are some places that it just works really well. So by taking it off that way, you can clearly see that's really giving the impression that those feathers are going off down there. So I've got to remember to put my hands up. You'd think I'd get better at this, wouldn't you? But I'm not really. And I'm just going over the top of the pattern that I've cut out on the parchment paper, because I'm going to go back over. When I've done the whole thing, I'm just going to cut it out again. So all these bits can just literally go over the edge. Which means that you do get shapes that you kind of didn't plan, which actually tends to work out really well, I think. It gives you a little bit more of a randomness about it, which usually works well. It's going a bit too angry. Just see that that's clearly still going fairly straight down at that stage. This is one of these little tiny bits that has come off where I've cut something else out of it, but I really like that. And you'll notice that I often overlap things, not because I'm trying to create an overlap, but just because it just adds a bit of interest. I've got a bit of a frayed edge there, so I'm just going to whip that off. Go under there. Back to this checker pattern. Do my line's going down, although my fabric's going off that way, the line is going that way, so it actually kind of works. Sort of having to work a little bit carefully because, like I said, I haven't got a lot of threads. I can't mix it up too much. I don't want the same bits going next to each other all the time. That looks horrible. Right angle, I've stuck it down, but usually you can just pull them back up again. What I do is I'll just snip it off, that's fine, and glue it back down again. If you're not sure of your placement, then just, if you're using what I use, which is Bondaware or Wonder Under, then just glue it onto the parchment rather than on your edges, so that it's easier to pull up. So if you weren't quite sure, what I would suggest you do is slide that in, just go over that bit here. Just going to take that straight edge off. Just make sure I've got no gaps. Half of it. So just stick it on that edge if you're not quite sure, until you're absolutely sure, and then go over the whole lot. I think when you're doing this kind of thing where you're using lots of different fabrics to create a whole piece like this, you just got to not overthink it too much. Just go with the flow. If you overthink it, then it's not going to look terribly natural, I don't think. Squeaky chair today, sorry. Always something. turn that round because I like that. Yeah. I'm thinking of setting up a website because it's extremely difficult to get the patterns out to people. Facebook is great for the group stuff and showing everything, but it's not great when I need to send the pattern out because it just gets kind of choked up, and then it won't let me send. It'll only let me send so many out on Messenger, and then it puts a stop to it for the day, which is understandable, I suppose. To stop people sending out spam and stuff. And I'm spending so much time sending out patterns to people. I'm loving doing it, and I'm loving seeing all your work. It's quite inspirational for me, actually. Keeps me going. Okay, where I've got put bits. Sprayed a little bit there, so I'll just take that off. It's not stuck on. Just stick it on the back again. If there's anything particular you'd like to see in the videos, do let me know. Done a few of them now, and they're probably getting a bit boring. You're probably sitting there thinking, gosh, it's really slow doing that one. Doing the big one. And I am. Taking forever. And there we go with my dogs making a starring roll, drinking out the water bottle. This wouldn't be a day without them trying to, upstage me every time. Do you need to drink that much? So we are getting there. So I've very deliberately used this check. I hadn't thought about using it as I have done, but as I've gone along you can see that I've used it to really highlight the way that the feathers are starting to come across. I hadn't planned that, hadn't even thought about it when I picked the material, but it's worked really well, so I'm going to use it. Can I use in that gap? No, I can't use that. It's done. Use that. I'll have a bit of this. You probably notice most of my pieces I just slot in behind other pieces. It's tricky as you go along, trying to find a bit that will fit in that you haven't used already. That's what I haven't used. There. It'll be a bit harder because it's all the way back here. I've got to peel it all the way back. There we go. To fill that little gap in. So I am just filling gaps now. Cut that way too big. No need to waste. Filling that gap there. few bits. This is the last bit. I've got a little gap in there. Let's come off those. So, right, what I'm going to do. So now you can clearly see where I've got to cut it out to make the exact shape. So we just go round. You probably notice in my designs I do use a lot of straight lines. I think it's probably just my style, but I just think it's it's easier to cut, and it gives it more of a graphic type look about it, I think, which I like. Sometimes I do think that. Sometimes I think curved lines are more difficult to work with. Sometimes they almost look less natural sometimes, but that's just me. I just like a nice straight graphic line. But when you're doing my patterns, you'll find quite a few straight lines. I still think it's easy to cut out. Getting there. Nearly done. And hopefully it'll be worth it. So there we go. So now very easy just to peel it off that piece of parchment paper. If you remember, I said I thought I had a hole in it somewhere. Actually, just a little tiny gap there. So one of these bits that I've just cut off, I can just pop behind. Just line it on. And now hopefully this should be, I can work out which way it goes round, a fairly close match. Sorry about my phone going off. There we go, that's going to fit in there. You can see that I haven't exactly matched it. It's not perfect, but it doesn't really matter, because when you come to do this bit up here, I'll just extend that bit. I'll draw around the space that I need to draw around. And because I've really fussy cutted that area out, I can just, don't have to fussy cut this bit around here. I can just bring it under. There we go. Just about stuck on. And then the bit that I showed you earlier that I was going to put all together, that I've put down somewhere and now can't find. The orange bit, this bit, which is the same as on my blue tip. That I'm then going to put, hopefully it's going to tip. Probably shouldn't have cut that bit out first. Try and match it so I've got no gaps. That's close enough. Being a bit cack-handed about this. The fabric is quite forgiving, and you can pull it about a bit more than you would imagine you can, and it will still go relatively flat. So it is a bit more forgiving than paper or anything like that. You can see I've gone way off the pattern there, but it doesn't really matter. I just make this bit a little bit bigger. You probably can't see that I have gone way off the pattern. Let me bring it a bit closer. So this bit should come down here, but it doesn't matter. I'll just make this bit a bit bigger. So that's it for today. So I kind of guess what I'm saying is don't get too hit up on the pattern. Just go with the flow a bit. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.